Spawned from a blinding light englobing the entire world, exteriorly Falconia appears to resemble a hawk opening its wings wide and ready to take flight, as adorned by a graveyard of trees right outside its thick walls, at the root of a much bigger one, restlessly expanding its branches throughout the sky. A monumental entrance, embedded in the center of the multiply layered defensive walls, guides the citizens to the capital, the only safe place left in a world infested by mystical creatures. In the background, the roundness of a strange globe opposes the sharpness of the capital's perimeter. Welcoming the citizens into Falconia are gigantic statues of griffins and soldiers of an age now gone. In particular, Roman-like soldiers which decorate the lower level of the door and intimidate whoever crosses it. On the higher half of the entrance, hawks spread their wings as if willing to protect with their lives the access to the city. Avian motifs can be found anywhere, from simple bas-reliefs at the top of the arch being the entrance, to the capital of the pillars sustaining the structure, to even on vases containing torches on the very top. The white material used for the construction of this monument, in addition to the sharpness of some designs, balanced by the softness of the round pillars and statues, confer the entrance a mighty and almost unreal feeling of victory. Beyond this arch of triumph, the capital extends itself with its villae and monuments. From the left, multiple minor temples in the distance keep company to others of apparently more importance. Public buildings possibly destined to boring bureaucracy don't seem to lack, just like gardens. At the center, pillars run after each other, describing an elliptical corridor as perimeter of a plaza much resembling San Pietro in the Vatican, with falcons watching its inside and outside, reminded of their duty by those having the same job at the entrance to the capital. Two obelisks stand tall at the center of each semicircle, making up the plaza which, through a majestic street, leads to the citadel. On the right, different temples can be seen, particularly inspired by the Parthenon and the Pantheon, not far from an amphitheater resembling the Colosseum, probably destined to spectacles to delight the people of Falconia. It seems the scenery perfectly harmonizes human buildings and nature together, as trees and gardens pop up without interrupting with harsh the stone of these classical constructions. To further amplify the godly vibe of the city, mist covers the floor of the citadel, which is accessed through a zigzag road studied to thin out the traffic of merchants, or anyway, those having business with the offices there located, besides being a means to further invigorate the person of the king and elevate him. Just for your information, I'll be using citadel, castle, acropolis interchangeably to describe Griffith's residence. The citadel is so linked to this road through an ingenious structure. Several guards watch over the checkpoints on the strategic first level of the citadel, just like the sentinels in the outer walls. The castle is embraced by the convex wings of Falconia at their core, in the safest of all safest places throughout the capital. Particularly, the background of the city is about to be enveloped by a cozy hug the Falcon gives to its citizens, and much like the Arch of Triumph at the entrance, there are two levels here. The lower one serves as access, while the second and higher level is an architectural miracle. Flying buttresses of Gothic inspiration project the weight of the wall onto the lower part, enabling an even taller orientation of the structure, which is constellated by pointed arches at the higher floors, whose walls are pierced by windows resembling a hive. Inside the castle, among the many places, the queen has her own garden where flowers from all lands are gathered. In addition, it is also in the castle that funerals are held. Even the very floor is made out of feathers, a motif which cannot live at peace even doors or columns. The architecture of this acropolis is sharper, Gothic, still white but grim, and different from the city below, as if from different eras. The outer part of the citadel culminates in a balcony serving as belvedere, which anatomically is the chest of the falcon, where a king would enjoy observing the city and the landscape ahead, though the fog and the world tree branches may hinder the view. The architecture of Griffith's castle is notably different from the classical style of the city below it. If the capital where the normal people live focuses on symmetry and harmony, the citadel instead pushes itself upward, thanks to the Gothic art style which elevates its height while maintaining a slim shape. What both the two halves of the capital agree on is the white color which paints Falconia in a surreal atmosphere. A godly vibe resonates through the city, with its citizens understanding that they are indeed being part of a legend, of history, whose author is Griffith, aiming at building a second empire, following Geiseric's example in the unification of all nations. Falconia looks like it could take off any moment, and it could. The capital rises from the ground as if wanting to separate itself from the dirt of the physical world, sitting on a pedestal. Outside the city, wing-shaped crystals protect against any approaching monster, allowing farmers to cultivate the evergreen land thanks to the blessing of the tree. Going into more detail, beyond the entrance, Falconia greets its inhabitants with an obelisk dressed in wings at the center of a plaza, which anticipates the main street of the capital, likely being a Decumanus Maximus. And the reason to believe that is the function this street used to serve in the ancient Rome. It in fact linked the door toward the enemy, known as Praetoria, to the one located opposite to it, the Decumana. Many cities were once Roman military encampments that eventually became definitive settlements, and they used to be organized as such in a rectangular shape. The Decumanus Maximus was eventually intersected by the second most important street at an angle of 90 degrees, the Cardo Maximus, which connected the other two doors, the Dextra and Sinistra. Districts were so built around their intersection, which in Falconia would be the plaza resembling San Pietro, even though the very Decumanus Maximus here appears to be more of a Via della Conciliazione, a large street leading up to the climax that is the plaza, and incidentally, while the Cardo Maximus is not visible, the Praetoria door is instead present. Question is, which way is the enemy? Outside the city, making the Arch of Triumph, the entrance, the Praetoria, or deeper in the city? Perhaps in that globe hiding behind everything. And in fact, proceeding behind the capital, imaginably forbidding to man, one arrives at the Pandemonium, where apostles can satisfy their needs, not before having to cross a bridge of sacrifice, one would call it, of iniquity. A bridge eaten by a menacing mist with an intimidating architecture, much like the door twisted in creepy motifs with a winged egg at its top. Getting back to man's Falconia, the traffic is well distributed thanks to dividers and multiple carriageways which include pedestrian strips. Beside the main way, pillars with falcons on top stand mightily, and arcades behind them facilitate pedestrian traffic and business in small shops, perhaps encouraged by the statues of soldiers not far away playing in celebration wind instruments typical of the military. Even thermal baths for the people are included, of course, with the usual reminder of celebrating Griffith. Falconia is a capital flourishing, newly born, and yet everyone has a place in it already, as if made specifically. The river running through the city surely helps its prosperity. Falconia is, before Midlands, Griffith's capital, a city that naturally follows its invincible and supreme leader, whose beautiful image is worshipped as assisted by his constant and impossible victories. It's only natural that people, annihilated by despair in front of such alien entities, helplessly decimated by plague, war and famine, would blindly obey an angel, offering himself as solution to these catastrophes, especially if reflecting a dream shared by all. The cult of Griffith's image is key to Falconia's identity, especially when his right as king finds divine acknowledgement through the pontiff of the main religion, and thanks to all the spirits of dead people buzzing around him after perishing in battle, apparently proving death to be only the beginning of a new journey led and promoted by Griffith. The distinction that, with so many sacrifices, has been achieved in our real world, at least in the West, here has been successfully deleted. Religious and secular power are substantially shared in the hands of the same person, who happens to be Griffith, but to be honest, he is both God and king, so not much to say about that. But commanding both spirit and mind of the people is all a dictator could ever ask for. Falconia is a utopia, a dream come true where men live together despite being culturally different, where men even live along with monsters. Falconia is a Civitas universalis, where cosmopolitanism is its main principle. Everyone is its citizen, and no man is different from the other once crossed its gates. Equality is an innate quality of man, and any political differentiation is false. In fact, it's a slow process of integration, where everyone happens to take shelter under the same wings. Episodes of crimes between the city factions are inevitable in this short period, but it's nothing short of a miracle to have all together. Though some things do not quite add up, why would there be such a ruin in a place that apparently has just been created? Well, the reason is that it wouldn't be too unwise to think that statue to portray the first emperor, Gaiseric, and in fact, Falconia's lower city is Gaiseric's old capital. This character will play a big part in the end of Berserk. I will leave this discussion for a different video. Here I will only say that, according to my theories, Falconia will take flight in the next and very close eclipse, where everything will be decided. Thank you so much for arriving at this point of the video, and I'll see you sooner than later.